Greetings. I read a lot, and I wanted to recommend to you guys some of the books I've been reading. So these are like half of the books that I've read over the last year, and it's pretty cool when you stack them up. It looks like I'm like pretty proud of how much I've read. So I'm only going to recommend to you guys like the best half of the books I've read this year, but probably all the books I've read this year would probably be about that high. I'm currently in my sister's room. My room's kind of a mess right now. And also, I'm curious what books you guys have been reading. So if you've read some really awesome books lately, please comment below what books you're reading down in the comments. Looking forward to seeing them. Alright, let's just dive into it. And roughly these books are in order of how much I like them. So, yeah. So starting with Cupid's Poisoned Arrow by Marnia Robinson. I've talked about this book twice in 2 previous videos, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I think this book is brilliant. I think it's revolutionary. If you're a guy or girl, if you're single or in a relationship, if you're young or old, whoever you are, I highly recommend this book. It'll blow your mind about how you think about sex and romantic relationships. It's like really counterintuitive, but it makes like perfect sense to me. I think it's revolutionary. Rather than me just talk about it, here's two comments that I got about this book in a previous video I made about it. First one, that book is definitely revolutionary. I came into it with a high degree of skepticism and came out of it amazed at what I had just read. It's incredible how beliefs we had for years can all of a sudden be obliterated in an instant. This is a must-read IMO, in my opinion. I'm in the process of reading this book now. It was on my book list for a while after your original video where you suggested it. I have to say, I'm rather fascinated. I'm trying to maintain a degree of skepticism as I read it, but it really is blowing me away. So I hope those comments speak for themselves. Alright, book number 2 is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I'm currently lending it to my dad, and I couldn't find it. It's the only book I couldn't find. But yeah, I'll put like an image right here of Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And initially, I was actually thinking about making this book the number 1 book on this list, but Cupid ended up beating it out. But Siddhartha is this really short spiritual story of this guy named Siddhartha. And I just really love this book. I think it's awesome. Like I said, it could have been the number 1 choice. It's a really easy read. You could read it in a couple days. It's short. There's a couple different versions of this book. So this is the version I read. And I'm guessing they're all similar, but I really like this version. And the top comment on my last video was, Luke, please make some more spiritual videos. And if you're interested in more spiritual content, I'd really recommend reading Siddhartha. It has a great spiritual message in it. Alright, next book. The Rape of Nanking by Iris Chang. Now, I actually got The Rape of Nanking off the Jordan Peterson, or like learned about this book off the Jordan Peterson recommended reading list. Jordan Peterson is this awesome YouTuber, this professor. I really like him. He recommended a bunch of books. I decided to check some of them out. I read this book, and man, it's a really impactful book. It talks about when Japan invaded China, like during the World War II time, and it's just like a really sobering book about the atrocities and horror and deaths and rape that the Japanese did to the Chinese, and it's just like a really sobering and grounding book to learn about this part of history. If you're like sensitive to kind of graphic stuff, maybe, or if you're like really young, maybe give a pass on this book. But I think there's great lessons about just learning about humanity and human psychology by reading a book like this, The Rape of Nanking. It's really well written. The lesson is this book will more bring you to truth about yourself and humanity. And yeah, I really recommend it, but it's pretty horrific. So just a warning. And if you don't know about Jordan Peterson, definitely like YouTube search him. He has some really amazing videos up on YouTube. Alright, next book. The Boys on the Boat by Daniel James Brown. Really amazing book. Just like The Rape of Nanking, this book is a true story about these rowers who compete in the Olympics that happened in Berlin during like the World War II area, like right before World War II. And it's just, this book is amazing. Just like The Rape of Nanking, I really like this book because it's real. You learn a lot about history, but it's honestly maybe one of the best real life stories that I've ever read. I honestly have no interest in rowing or about anything about the sport of rowing. So you don't. It's more the story, and just this is like the quintessential American story. It really goes into the background, lots of these rowers and all the hardships they went through, all the way to Berlin, and just what they accomplished and what they did. It's truly remarkable. And if you go on Amazon, like just search up this book on Amazon and check out the customer reviews. There's so many reviews of this book on Amazon. It was like one of the best sellers of the year. This book is amazing, highly recommended. While The Rape of Nanking talks about like the horrors of humanity and the sadness of humanity, this book is nice counterbalance to that recommendation, because this book is a very triumphant and inspiring book. Highly recommended, amazing. Next book, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections by Carl Jung. Sometimes I say Carl Jung. Carl Jung. Carl Jung has really, I've been really impacted by his thoughts. And if you're curious about Carl Jung at all, this would be the book that I would start with. This is his autobiography. Lots of people think he's one of the most brilliant, like, thinkers in, like, modern psychology, or, like, lots of spiritual, psychological thoughts, but they're all, like, very grounded, and, yeah, it's a awesome book. If interested in Jung, I say this is the place to start. Boom. All right, next up. I just heard my dog coughing. I'll be right back. She's sick right now. I need to make sure she's okay. 1 second. All right, I'm back. My dog is sick, so I just heard her cough, so I just went to go check up on her. She's fine though. But yeah, my dog is, she's like 13 and a half, soon to be 14 almost, and she has this condition called megaesophagus, where her like throat muscles don't work, so she can't swallow. So we always have to feed her like seated up, and then she has to stay seated for like 20 minutes, and she's on some medications, and it's been kind of rough for her, but she's it's amazing how dogs have really good attitudes, and she's fighting the best we can. So that's one of the big reasons I'm living at home right now, is to help take care of my dog, who I've had since seventh grade, and I really love her. All right, so where was I? Just Mercy, another amazing book by Bryan Stevenson. This book is about a lawyer, Bryan Stevenson, and he moves to Alabama and takes on all these cases of mainly death row inmates who have been falsely convicted, and he tries to free them from death row. Amazing story, really remarkable. He ends up being like taking all these cases to the Supreme Court. He ends up taking lots of like child cases, who like maybe like a 14-year-old commits a crime and is in life for jail, or in jail for life in like Florida. So he fights against injustice, and just the stories in this book are like amazing, very inspiring read, very good look into humanity. Also, because this book, I learned a lot about the legal system, and our legal system is just really, really, really fucked up. If you're poor, and especially if you're black in certain areas, you're just treated like shit. And there's so much, like, this lawyer goes through so much corruption and like legal disasters that are completely unfair, and to learn about all the work he's done. Amazing book, highly recommended, really inspiring. Like, this guy is working really, really hard to make the world a better place, and accomplishing it. He also has like a cool TED Talk. So highly recommended. Next book, Island by Aldous Huxley. It's I'd maybe call this It's pretty spiritual, but it's basically Aldous Huxley, who's like the super smart guy. He wrote Brave New World. It's basically his vision of a utopian society, and he kind of just gives his vision for what like a perfect utopian human society will be. Really inspiring. I really enjoyed this book, and it has lots of great insights in it. Highly recommended. Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson. If you have a problem with pornography, or you want to understand better how porn affects the brain and like everything pornography, amazing book. You'll learn a lot. It's really helped me. Dreams 123 by J.M. DeBoard. It's a book about how to interpret your dreams. Awesome book. Check it out if you're interested in dreams. Dreams is always a subject that really fascinates me. Pretty awesome book. Going Home. Finding Peace When Pets Die by John Katz. Yeah, since my dog is probably going to pass pretty soon, maybe she'll live like another year. But I found some articles about dogs by this guy that I really liked, and I saw he had a book about like just his thoughts on dealing with like the death of a pet. So I decided to read this book before my dog died, just to kind of prepare me, and it's been really helpful, and it's helped me be a better master or friend, family member to my dog. So if you have a pet that's getting old and that's probably going to die soon, I'd recommend this book. And yeah, I'd recommend this book before your pet dies, not afterwards. So yeah. Solving the Procrastination Puzzle by Timothy A. Cycle. Good book about procrastination. Really short. I'm glad I read it. Next book, The Kabbalion. Now, one of my best friends recommend this book to me. Really amazing spiritual book, and I know 3 or 4 people who have been massively impacted by this book. That best friend who I've known him since he was like 6 years old, and he's always been a big atheist. And then he started to have some like spiritual awakenings like 4 or 5 years ago, and he said this is one of the books that like started him, or like connected the dots for him and launched him on his spiritual awakenings. So this book can really impact some people. I know Keith Garcia from the Welcome Home channel and Ralph Smart from the Infinite Waters channel also really like this book. Read it if you're drawn to it. I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Yousafzai. Yeah, I'm not going to try. But I said in my last, or maybe 2 emails ago, to my GoldJacketLuke.com email list. If you're not on my email list, make sure you go to GoldJacketLuke.com and subscribe to my emails. That I wanted to make some content more geared towards females. And to be honest, this is the only book out of all these books that I didn't... Like, I just skimmed this book. Every other book that I've recommended here, I've read the entire book. This book I've just skimmed, and I just read parts of it. But the parts I read I really liked. It's inspiring. It's the story of this Pakistani girl who got shot, and she has this... Her and her like family really stood up for like rights, especially for like girls to get educated in Pakistan. It's just a really inspiring and amazing story. So especially for the female GoldJacketLuke viewers out there, I bet you'll like this book. I Am Malala. 1984 by George Orwell. A classic. I don't think I need to say anything more. Spiritual Sayings of Khalil Gibran. Fun book. Alright. There's the best books I've read this last year. Check them out. Go to what books you're drawn to out of these books. I'll put them all in the links to all these books in the description. And yeah, like check the Amazon reviews of these books and see which ones call your name. I got some notes here. Typically I read like 2 books at the same time. I'll like switch, maybe read 20 minutes of each book or 30 minutes of each book a day, or an hour of this book, and then the next day read an hour of that next book. Sometimes I read 3 books at once. And as you could see, I typically like reading books like in paper. Some people like audiobooks, some people like Kindle, but I'm old school. Also, there's this kind of bell icon next to the subscribe or something. And if you click that, you'll get notifications of all my videos. And what YouTube does now is if you subscribe, YouTube won't give you every single video of mine. I'm not sure how their algorithms work, but if you want to make sure you get all my videos, make sure you click that bell icon. Make sure to check out my other, like I've recommended a bunch of books on my channel. I'll put a link to other books, my other book recommendation videos down here. Anything else I want to say? So, and all these, I'm not like endorsing any of these books. And some of these books, there might be something I disagree with here and there, so don't take it as like an endorsement. I think that's one way I've matured a lot over the years. Before, when I read a book, I would like completely buy into the author's ideas. And now, as I've aged and matured, I could read a book and only take from it what I think is best. And I could kind of see some small things where I'm like, I'm not sure I agree with that. But anyways, I'm rambling. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Check out my other videos. I always appreciate likes because it helps my videos rank higher. Comment what you've been reading. Click that bell. Follow me on social media. And have a great day. Good luck with your reading. Peace. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Peace.